My concern was I'm getting COVID often. I took Paxlovid the third time, and then a few weeks later I got it again, and it was COVID was really bad on me.
That's a common experience, by the way. So if you get repeated bouts of COVID, I mean, that anybody can get long COVID after a case of COVID. It's more likely if you've had repeated bouts of COVID or if you've had a severe case of COVID.
So
that's the reason.
Should I be getting the vaccine even though I've had it multiple times?
Yeah. Now, I guess one question is, after you had your first 2 immunizations way back in 2021, did you get boosters regularly?
I got 1 booster, and then after that, I stopped getting them.
Yeah, so that's the reason why you keep up with the booster.
The reality is this, Grant: the COVID shots were an abject failure, independent of the harms that they caused to people, the vaccine injuries. Independent of that, they simply didn't work. They don't prevent you from getting COVID. They don't prevent you from spreading COVID to others. In fact, we have multiple large studies, including one of 53,000 patients out of the Cleveland Clinic, that concludes clearly that the more vaccinated, quote unquote, you are for COVID, the more likely you are to get it. And this woman is a case in point. I don't know about
chefs reveal the 5 healthy foods their wealthy clients usually avoid. This is the printout from Fox News. All right, you ready for the list, Doc? Plant-based meats, marked as healthy, but have been heavily engineered. True?
100%. And I love that this is coming out, that behind the scenes, these people who claim to eat bugs and plant-based meats actually wouldn't come near it at all. And they're right. I just wish that they would stop virtue signaling in public, because in private, they don't actually eat this stuff. It is heavily engineered. There's no reason to think that it's healthier. It was foisted upon us by the climate activists. It had nothing to do with better nutrition whatsoever. And there's a reason why these celebrities behind the scenes say, you know, rules for thee, but not for me.
Well, this next one I knew about, and so I'm very careful. I do eat protein bars, but I pick them very carefully. I look at the sugar count in them, because basically it's a phony name for candy bar.
Bingo. And you just hit the nail on the head. Many of them do have higher protein, say, than a Snickers bar, you know, or a regular candy bar, but you're not doing yourself any favor if you're getting a huge amount of sugar along with that. So I eat protein bars as well, but I pick them very carefully. Super high protein, super high fiber, 0 sugar, and as few, you know, additives and unnatural ingredients as possible.
All right, next one is low-fat, quote, and, quote, diet foods. And when you see foods labeled fat-free or reduced fat, red flag, says this private chef whose clients all say, I don't want any of that stuff.
Absolutely. Here's the deal. There are 3 big buckets that you're going to have in a food product: protein, fat, and carbohydrate. If you get rid of one entirely, it's going to get made up with the other one, or with the other 2 in general. And unfortunately, most of these low-fat foods, they don't make it up with protein. They make it up with carbohydrates. And commonly, that carbohydrate is out-and-out sugar. So if you think back to years ago when we were into the real low-fat, fat-free craze, those Snackwell cookies, you know, the chocolate cookies, they had no fat. So everyone thought, oh, it's, you know, it's open season, I can eat the whole box. They were nothing but sugar. And what wasn't sugar was artificial coloring, artificial preservatives. They were absolutely horrific. They were little toxic pucks, you know, shaped like chocolate cookies. And so, avoid things that say fat-free without being very careful to look and see if they took all the fat out, what are they adding back? Now, I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't pay attention to fats, because you want to be focusing on those healthy fats. You don't want things that have fat in the form of soybean oil, canola oil, those sorts of things, those seed oils that are highly toxic and have contributed to our chronic health issues.
I would warn people about yogurt, too. Be very careful with yogurt, because it's often very high in sugar. There is some pretty good options for high protein, low sugar options. You got to search it out, though, at the grocery store. All right. Granola and store-bought cereals. I knew this about granola. It's high in sugar. I still
Yes.
like it, but store-bought cereals are brutal when it comes to this.
Both are really horrible choices for nutrition. Granola what got sold as a bill of goods to be this healthy thing because it had some amount of whole grains in it, or nuts or seeds or dried fruit, these sorts of things. They are chocked full of sugar, and even the ones that don't have a lot of sugar have unhealthy oils. They are largely made with soybean oil or canola oil, again, two of the worst offending seed oils that contribute to not only obesity and insulin dysregulation, but also inflammation. So lots of reasons, and all of this focus on grains. If you look at the new food pyramid, finally, that has been flipped on its head, there's far, far less emphasis on grains. We don't need nearly the amount of carbohydrates that the average American had been eating previously. So I give granola in general a big thumbs down.
Big thumbs down. All right. Well, I'm half Italian and I love carbs. I just can't help it. That's my thing. But it's when I limit them, I don't cut them, but if I limit them, I do a much better job of staying trim than I do when I'm overloading on carbs. All right. Lastly, I don't know if I agree with this. I think I get what they're trying to say. It says excessive smoothies and cleanses, but I think what they're saying is trendy liquid meals that can be the problem here, because a good smoothie is good for you if you do it right. Not a smoothie that's loaded with sugar that's really a milkshake, but a decent fruit smoothie. There's nothing wrong with that, and I think there's plenty of cleanses, juice diets that are probably pretty good to go on. You know, you go on for a few days or something, but I get the trendy liquid diets are probably not great.
Two things about smoothies and liquid meals. Number one, you're exactly right about the sugar. They typically are very, very high in sugar, even if it's not added sugar. And the problem with liquids or smoothies is that when you put something, and the science is very clear on this, when you make something into a liquid form, your body doesn't interpret it, doesn't feel it as a solid food. So the calorie content can be very high. You think about a smoothie that has 2 bananas, an apple, a cup of orange juice, 2 scoops of whey powder. You're 600-700 calories into that. But when you drink it, your body doesn't say, I just had 600 or 700 calories, the way that it would if you ate the 2 bananas by themselves, the apple, if you ate those things as whole foods. The way that your body and the connection between your stomach and your brain, and whether it tells you that you should be full and should stop eating. So somebody who's your size, who's a bigger guy, who can take more calories in than somebody like me, you might get away with it. Because an extra 600 or 700 calories, but that for me represents a good third of my daily intake. And if I do it as a smoothie, but I don't feel full as a result, I'm going to end up going over on my calorie intake for the day.
I can do a smoothie as a meal replacement. So that you're exactly right. I figure about 600 calories there. And I try to keep my 3 meals around 500 to 600 calories each. And then I'll have a snack, which is whether it's nuts or a banana or whatever in the middle of the day. So I'm taking in, I don't know, close to 1,800 to 2,000 calories a day. Puts me pretty good with how I work out. If I'm working out really hard, I can maybe push it to 2,500 calories a day, but really probably not.
Yeah, and so I think that, again, the issue with smoothies is those two things: the sugar. It's not a great way, to control sugar. It's very, very difficult with a smoothie. And then number two, because we just don't perceive liquid calories in the same way. That's why one of the easiest things you can do to lose weight and to cut out some calories is they say, cut out the liquid calories. Don't ever drink liquids that contain calories.